Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm doing part 2 of the My Monthly Hero 10 Cards 1 kit. And so we're just going to jump in and get started with card number 6. I wanted to make a card using the cardinal, the image here. And so of course these are the cubes that came with the kit, but cardinals are red. So I grabbed some red inks from my stash. This is pale tomato. And then I'm just going to ink up my bird. I'm going to go over a little parts of it with my raspberry jam, and then this is red royal. I'm going to add a little bit here and there. I'm going to color in his little feet and the bottom of his chest with the nest colored ink that came in the kit. Grab a piece of white cardstock and then I'm just going to stamp it. Now what I should have did was kind of season the stamp first, because when I stamped it was kind of blotchy. If you just rub your hand over your stamps before you use them, it will prevent this from happening. So we're going to do it. We're going to try this one more time. I'm just going to do the same exact thing, stamp my little birdie. But this time I like the blending on my first bird better. So I'm going to add a little bit more ink to him, and I'm going to just stamp directly on top of him and see if that helps out with the color blending. And I think it turned out great. So there's my little cardinal. I'm going to cut him out and set him aside. Now for the background for this card today, I'm going to use some Moonstone Glimmer Paste from Nuvo. This is a really pretty, soft iridescent, it's a warm iridescent glimmer paste. And I'm just adding a little bit on a piece of white cardstock. I want the background of my cardinal to have some real pretty shimmer, and I thought this would be a great way to do that. So I just spread it out real thin, and then we're just going to set that aside to dry. If you have glitter paper, you could do the exact same thing with the glitter paper. Okay, I think that looks real pretty. Now we're going to do some more stamping. I wanted to use the branch that had the leaves on it, so I'm going to ink up the leaves with the green ink that came in the kit, and then using the brown ink, I'm going to color in the tree trunk, and that's going to create a two-tone tree trunk. And I'm going to actually do this 4 times. I want 4 of these branches here. The more you do this with your inks, the easier it is. I mean, I'm sure, I know I have a lot of comments saying I make it look so easy, but for me this was so easy. I mean, it was fun practicing. And here's my 4th one. Now this came with coordinating die, so I'm just going to take that and cut out all 4 of my branches, and there we go. Now I have a piece of white cardstock, and then I used 2 of my stitched rectangle dies to create a frame. My frame is a 1/2 inch wide, and against my card base it's about a 1/2 inch smaller than my card base. I thought it would be fun to kind of flip-flop the tree branches and place them on top of my window frame here, and I think that's going to create a real fun effect. At first I was going to leave the bottom branches out, but then I decided I think I'm going to just tuck them under. So using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, I'm going to add a little glue to the top part of the leaves, and then I'm going to add a little glue to the very front of my tree branch. I'll tuck it under the frame and then put the leaf part on the top, and I'm going to do that to all 4 of my leaves. And this is just create something different, a real fun effect. So that's my little panel there. And since we have all those openings, that glitter paste is going to look really pretty behind there. Okay, now we need a sentiment. So for this one, I thought "Hey There" would be cute for this card. Now I'm just grabbing a piece of white cardstock, and I was going to stamp it with my VersaFine ink and then cut it out. But then I thought, you know what, I have these itty bitty, these are Stitch Tiny Tags from MFT, and I thought that would be perfect to hang off one of those branches. So I'm just going to take my VersaFine ink and re-stamp that on one of those little tags. Now I grabbed some green and white baker's twine from my stash, and I'm just going to take it and wrap it around one of the tree branches, and then I'm going to tie a bow at the very top. once we have that done, I'm going to flip this panel over and I'm going to add some foam squares behind it. Okay. My glimmer paste is still a little bit wet, but I'm going to just continue with it. So I'm just going to trim that down. Normally I would use the largest die that I use for my frame and cut it out, but I didn't want it getting all over my big shot. So I just used scissors to trim it down, and then using my tape runner I'm going to adhere that directly in the center of my card base, and then I'm just going to remove the backing off of those foam squares and pop that up on my card base. My card base for all my cards today are A2 size. So now I'm just trying to figure out where I want to put my little cardinal. And I think that's a good spot, and that's it. That's it for card number 1. Very fun, little different card, but I like the shimmery background. Okay, now moving along to card number 2. I'm taking some Post-it tape, and I am going to create, I'm masking off a little bit of a section to the left. This is my actual card base. We're going to do some stamping on that, and I wanted to make a happy birthday card. So I took the happy birthday sentiment, and using the Nest colored ink, I'm going to stamp happy birthday all over the inside where I masked off. And then once I got that done, there's these 2 little music notes in the stamp set. Any open areas I went over with the music notes, just to kind of as a filler. And happy birthday and music notes go good together. I'm going to remove my Post-it tape, and it's going to give me a real nice background there. Now I'm taking some of this stone colored wood grain cardstock that came in the kit, and I cut out 2 1/4-inch strips. This is going to go to the left and right of my stamped area directly on my card base. I'm just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue those down. I think that looks nice. Okay, now we're going to do some stamping. I want to use the largest feather in the stamp set. And again, I'm going to use just the 3 inks that came in the kit. I think the colors just look so pretty together. So I'm going to grab that large feather there. And then I'm going to take my inks. I'm going to start off with the robin's egg blue, and then go in with the green, and then go in with the brown. I want to create 3 leaves, or I keep calling feathers leaves. I probably did that in part 1, but sorry, but these are feathers, not leaves. But I'm doing the same exact thing on the second one, and then also on the third one. I want 3 leaves total. And I'm just adding the brown in different areas to create different looks of the feathers. We're going to take, once all those are stamped, we're going to take the coordinating dies, and we're just going to cut out our 3 feathers. Okay, now I'm going to add some foam squares behind those feathers and pop them up kind of towards the bottom of my card base, kind of layering them in a little cluster. And then I decided to take my white gel pen and do some faux stitching along the edge of the stone colored wood grain cardstock there. Since there was so much white, I thought the white would add a nice little touch. And then for finishing touches, I'm going to go in with a few coordinating sequins. This is just from my stash. And that completes card number 2, my birthday card. Oh, I did add some Spectrum Noir Sparkle with a clear sparkle pen. That's card number 2. Okay, now let's move along to card number 3. Now I took an oval die from my stash, and I'm using it as a template. I'm just using a pencil and tracing around my oval. And in the stamp set, there's a lot of small images. Now, sometimes we think that the small images are just fillers, but these can create some beautiful wreaths. So that's what I wanted to do with this card. I'm going to take the flower, and then there's a little leaf stamp. I'm going to stamp the flower using the blue ink all around my oval there. And then I wanted to bring in a little bit more color, so I actually had grabbed some soft pool ink, and I'm going to add some more lighter color blue flowers. Now I'm going to use the green ink that came in the kit, and then that little leaf stamp, and I'm going to stamp leaves all around my little wreath there. And I think that creates such a pretty design. Okay, now I have a stitch rectangle die. We're going to just cut that out, cut our panel out. Now in the stamp set there's this real pretty hummingbird, so I wanted to color him in, and I'm going to do the same exact coloring as I did with the feathers and also in part 1. I'm just kind of adding different colors directly to the image. Here I grabbed actually 3 colors. I grabbed a darker blue also that wasn't part of the kit, but I always add a little bit of the brown on the feet and then along the back side of the birdie, and I think that just creates a real pretty effect. I'm going to do it one more time. I should have kind of seasoned, I guess, the stamp, and I did it again. Add a little bit of the dark blue and then a little bit of the brown. I'm going to stamp that, and that one turned out, well, they both actually turned out really pretty, but I'm going to use the second one. Okay, now just to give it a little pop of color, I'm going to go in with my orange alcohol marker and then color in his little beak, and then I'm taking a black marker and dotting his eye. I'm going to go ahead and cut him out. And then I decided to use the Thanks sentiment that was in the stamp set. And so I'm just kind of positioning where I'd like it. Now I'm going to use my VersaFine ink because I am going to go directly over the top of those flowers. And VersaFine works great for that. I'm just going to stamp my word thanks. Then pop up my little hummingbird and put that cute little guy right next to the sentiment. Now, since my sentiment was real bold and black and everything else was soft, I decided to go in with my black marker and dot all of those flower centers, adding a black dot to each one of those. And that just kind of tied everything together. I'm going to pop up this panel with some foam tape. I'm going to remove the backing and place that directly in the center of my card base. And then I'm adding a little sparkle with my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and then I decided to use my Jelly Roll Stardust pen and add dots of sparkle all around that wreath, and I think it turned out so pretty. And that's it for that card, my hummingbird card. We're pretty. Okay, now we're going to move along. For our next card, I wanted to stamp some birdies. I wanted to do my own pattern paper, basically, using all the birdies. So I'm going to grab 2 different ones, a smaller one and like a medium-sized one. And I'm going to just color them in the same way I've been coloring them. I'm going to stamp 2 of the birdies to show you which ones I used. And then I'm going to use a circle die to cut out this panel, so I'm just basically kind of going to go in a cluster, a circle cluster. So that's one of them, and then this is the second one, and I'm just kind of stamping them wonky. I'm going shifting them at angles, just trying to fill in my little circle area that I want to cut out. But there they are. I think that looks like a real pretty background. And I'm taking a circle die and I'm going to just cut out a circle. Now I have 2 fishtail banner dies for my stash. I'm going to cut out a larger panel using the stone wood grain cardstock, and then also using the darker one, a smaller fishtail banner. I'm going to directly adhere the lighter color to my card base, And then I want to add some foam tape behind the dark brown one, and I'm going to pop that up. I think that's going to look good there. Sometimes I figure out my placement before as I go, so I'm just kind of figuring out where to put it. That looks good there. I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to the right or the left side, and you can see I trimmed down my little birdie panel there, and I just popped that up and placed it on there. Now for the sentiment, I thought it would be cute to add "What's up, chickie?" I think, is that what it says? Let's see. Hey, oh, hey girlfriend. That's kind of hard to say. Hey girlfriend. But that's it for that card. Okay, now we're going to move along for our final card. I cut out a frame using the darkest wood grain paper, and then a smaller panel that would fit inside the frame. And then using 2 square dies from my stash, I'm going to cut out 2 small squares. 2 different sizes. I did take a circle die and cut out a circle inside the smallest square. And, well, you can tell what we're doing now. We're going to create a little birdie house. And if you have a smaller, was the smallest circle die that I had, besides a hole punch. So I think proportion-wise, my window in the birdhouse was a little bit big, but wasn't too bad. But I'm just going to glue my roof on. I'm going to punch a hole in the very top and then add some of that green and white baker's twine. I'm just going to loop it through. Okay, we got to glue this down to our card base. This is going to go directly on our card base, right in the center. Okay. Now, I wanted a backing for my birdhouse. To me, it just kept looking funny. So I decided to take a piece of the wood grain paper and trim down a little square that would fit right behind that little birdhouse. That way it's not a bird window. Okay, I'm gonna add some foam tape behind it to give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to place that small piece right in the back, and then I'm going to place that on my little panel there. I'm going to take that baker's twine and just flip it around the back, and then just using some double-sided tape, I'm going to stick that down. I'm going to trim off the excess, and then with the extra twine that I cut off, I'm just going to create a bow. Using a glue dot, I'm just going to secure that to the very top part of my birdhouse. Trim off the tails there. Lovely. Okay, now I wanted some greenery, so I'm just taking the green ink that came in the kit and I'm smushing it against some white cardstock, and then I'm using that leaf die that also came in the kit, and I'm going to cut out 2 leaves. Now I took the little heart stamp and I stamped a heart directly on my birdhouse, but I didn't like the color of it, so I decided to stamp that heart using cotton candy ink on white cardstock, and then I went ahead and cut everything out. To give my leaves a little bit more definition, I decided to add a little bit of the brown ink on the edges. I'm going to pop up my little heart, place that on my birdhouse, and I tucked the leaves behind the birdhouse on the very top, and then this bird here was actually one from part 1, where I went kind of bird crazy and stamped a whole bunch. I just cut that out, and we're going to use that one. I'm going to pop this panel up with some foam tape, and that's going to go in the center of our card base. Lovely. And as I placed it down, I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot the sentiment. There was tons of sentiments in the stamp set. So I took a chance and decided to stamp the word tweet with my VersaFine ink. And then it stamped well. If you plan on casing the card, I suggest doing this before you added foam tape to it. But I just added some white embossing powder and then I melted it. And now I'm just rubbing away my anti-static powder. But that's it for that card. Here's a look at all 5 cards that I made today for part 1, or for part 2. If you missed part 1, I'll leave it at the very end of this video. You can check it out. But I hope this gives you some more ideas on how to use this kit. To me, this kit was fantastic. I had so much fun creating with it. I wish you a fantastic day, and we will see you again soon, guys. Bye-bye.